Who would have thunk? Who would have indeed thought that a guy who started his career much after Jimmy Anderson calls it quits the very first thing? Because breaking news, a very major, big development has happened after the end of day 3 of the 5th Ashes Test.
Yeah.
Stuart Broad has decided that tomorrow, and if day 5, it will be the last of his 17-year professional cricketing career.
It's a bit of a surprising decision that I think absolutely no one saw coming. Because you've heard no talk about it whatsoever. All of the talk regarding anyone's future has been Jimmy Anderson.
Yep.
Is Jimmy Anderson going to announce his retirement? Does he have a future in Tests after this Ashes? What about his career thereafter? No one has said anything about Broad. Broad has been operating at a high level even in this Ashes.
Yep.
Just ask David Warner.
Just ask David Warner. But unfortunately, if he gets David Warner out tomorrow or day after, he will not equal that mark of 19.
The 19.
Yes. So Stuart Broad, 600 plus test wickets, over 850 international wickets, a career that started in 2006, has seen the lowest of the low.
And some very big highs.
But highs of the highs. And today, this is a tribute to Stuart Broad. I mean, the retirement call, he did an MS Dhoni. Consider me retired from 8:30 p.m. local there.
Out of nowhere, it just came. Because even after a point, I think the first ones to get up were the broadcasters in England. And even they were shocked.
They were shocked, yes.
First thing was how exactly, where is this coming from?
Yep.
And his logic, by the way, is pretty interesting logic if we want to go over it.
Yep.
He said that he's made that decision, he made it after the day ended.
Yeah.
And, now what, 17 years?
17 years, 2006. From Nottinghamshire, he came as a young guy, full of pace. But then his career didn't start off in the ideal fashion that it should have been.
Of course.
But he'll come to that a bit later. Remember, his test career also, it was the passing of the torch era. I mean, Harmison, Hoggard, Jones, they were all operating after the 2005 glory of the Ashes.
Yeah, but even that, a lot of them were on their last legs. Hoggard in particular.
Hoggard, Harmison, after they were taken to the cleaners by New Zealand and Hamilton in 2008, you saw a new era unfold in the form of Stuart Broad and James Anderson coming to the floor. And before we get to the highs and the lows of his career, I mean, this was a decision that he made about 8:30 p.m. local time, by the way. Consider me retired from 8:30 p.m. local time. So, brings to an end his 17-year international career. But how did he go about announcing it?
Yeah.
He was actually thinking about it for a few weeks.
That's what he said?
Yeah. I told Stokesy last night and told the changing room this morning. That means it happened on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
It just felt the right time. I am loving cricket as much as I ever have, and this Ashes series just feels like it's been one of the most enjoyable and entertaining I've been a part of. I mean, every home Ashes Test series, 2009, 2013, 2015, 2019, now 2023, he's played in all of them.
Exactly.
And he has been part of some memorable, pivotal moments that has been there in Ashes history and also, if you may say, world cricket, if you have to look at it. So, that is the situation that we have got. So, he made the decision last night. He told Stokesy last night, but he conveyed it to the dressing room today.
Exactly.
So, man, MS Dhoni, you got company in the form of...
Because he kept it very private again. And by the way, I think it speaks volumes about how tight the English dressing room is, that he told the changing room this morning, there was not one leak. Not one leak.
India, take note, please.
I mean, it speaks to the level of respect that people have for Broad, that no one actually made that decision public in a sneaky way until he chose to do so himself. Amazing.
Exactly. So, there is a respect that Stuart Broad has garnered, not just from the England dressing room, from the England fans, from every cricketing quarter, because his career itself, I mean, let's just have a look at his career. 800 wickets, 708 wickets, 690. His bowling partner in crime, James Anderson, currently has. Kumble with 619, but when he took those wickets at the Oval, Stuart Broad went past 600 test wickets. He now is only the second pacer in this entire list to go past 600.
Exactly.
He and Anderson combined. I mean, what a bowling duo that they have.
Over 1,000 wickets together as a
Over
pair.
1,000 wickets.
Madness.
And the Aussies will know, because out of the 602, 150 have come against them. So, in the Ashes contest, if you have to look at it, 452 wickets have come against other opponents, but 602 against. It's a staggering number, and he's got one more innings left.
Exactly. And potentially one more David Warner wicket to take.
One more David Warner wicket to take. And let us not forget, it is kind of providence that he ends his career at the Oval, because it was in the Oval in 2009 where he made a big name for himself. The urn came back to England after one particular spell from Stuart Broad on day 3, if I am not mistaken. When England, Jonathan Trott had already hit a century, but Stuart Broad held a spell for the ages at that time. And the Ashes came back to England and they held it for 4 years.
Exactly.
Now, I'm talking about this particular match. 5-wicket haul versus Australia at the Oval. He bowled a spell and Australia never recovered from that. They lost 5 wickets for about, I think, 40 runs. Broad was in the middle of that magnificent spell that was there.
Correct.
Australia they were trailing by 190 plus runs. The Ashes was gone. There and there. But most people forget his 2 test hat-tricks that he took. India, you remember Trent Bridge. Harbhajan Singh will disagree with that hat-trick because he got a clear-cut inside edge on that. But no DRS at that time, and India only have to be blamed for that.
Exactly, because it was the BCCI's call to not have
DRS. And he also took a hat-trick against Sri Lanka at Leeds. So, 2 test hat-tricks, but this stat, 150 wickets versus Australia.
And he, by the way, was someone who, there's been a lot of talk that at times James Anderson was someone who could struggle if conditions weren't always to his liking. Broad, by the way, wasn't always painted by that same brush.
Yes.
Look beyond the numbers. Anderson, in the right conditions, absolutely lethal. Broad was someone who could operate even outside of that comfort zone.
Of course, and that is the reason why you've seen that you can remember Stuart Broad for those. You had one spell. That would be absolutely legendary. I mean, 5 wickets he took against Australia at the Oval. One spell.
Exactly.
But he took a spell 7 for 44 against New Zealand at Lord's. And that spell ensured New Zealand got bowled out for 68. He got a spell of 5 for 10 against South Africa and Centurion. And who did he trouble the most in his entire career? Not David Warner. A certain genius by the name of A.B. de Villiers. A.B. de Villiers never had that kind of luck against Stuart Broad. But Ashes folklore, 8 for 15. Trent Bridge, 8 for 15. So devastating was a spell, it could be summed up in a 140 character tweet. That was the Aussie innings. 18.3, 60 all out, 8 for 15. And that reaction, oh boy.
In fact, that's an interesting comment from Citizen. Again, clear Manchester City fan saying, Broad surprised us with an in-swinger and caught us off guard. Absolutely.
And remember, 160 plus tests, and as Citizen points out, the fitness that he maintained, that too, he was born an asthmatic. I mean, really remarkable. And it's a tribute to Broad, not just for this particular fitness aspect, Citizen, that we're talking about. From the ultimate of lows, to have that mental strength and bounce back, it speaks volumes about. And I'll come to that particular aspect a bit later. But partnership with Anderson, 1,000 plus wickets.
And by the way, this is something that a lot of people have pointed out about Broad, that mental toughness aspect, is that he was someone who doesn't get phased very easily.
Yes. I mean, who can withstand the entire booing, the jeering, the abuse that the Australian crowds are the most vicious in the world. But he was ice cool in front of them. Least bothered. And remember, getting into his zone, it would be like something remarkable altogether. I am talking about what was that particular aspect. Imagine, early in your career, you are hit for 6 sixes in 1 over by Yuvraj Singh, who is one of the best match winners India had in that period. 6 sixes in an over. You would felt, okay, game over. I will retire into county life and then I'll play out my remaining days in the English county circuit. But no. Comes back with a bang, becomes your best test bowler. At one point, he was also the best ODI bowler also for England. I mean, he got a 5 for 23 against South Africa. So, he was your best white ball bowler also for England. Now, test matches, okay, you'd think Broad was your ultimate, right? Wrong. Jasprit Bumrah, of all people, had hit him for 35 runs.
And this is in 2022.
Yes. You think, okay, maybe that's the end of Broad. But no, he becomes better and better and better. And that is why it's... Yep.
So we have one comment saying it looks like Anderson will be playing another 10 years at this rate. But
Yeah, Uttarakhandi swag. I mean, why couldn't he have given some other swag? But Uttarakhandi
but I
swag.
like what Akshay Pratap Singh says, that I think they're going to hunt in pairs, and most likely Jimmy Anderson will also announce at the time. So, by the way, very recently, and we have a video up on that in Sports Day, he said there is not something on his mind.
Yeah.
So if it does, then that will be a surprise outswinger from Anderson.
I mean, I was saying James Anderson might make an announcement because this series has not been good for him.
It's not been kind to him at all.
But Stuart Broad bowled the ultimate googly. He didn't bowl an outswinger and in-swinger. He bowled a googly. And because of that, oh boy. It's
But
like...
as Akshay Pratap also points out, he's saying you're talking about being caught off guard, because Broad was probably the best bowler for England, arguably after Mark Wood in this Ashes. He was very consistent.
Yeah.
Even at times when Anderson was struggling, Broad was not.
Yeah, and guess who did Broad trouble apart from Warner? Labuschagne was troubled, Smith was troubled. And that's why it's
At
this...
times, and by the way, at his age, there were times when he was troubling Travis Head with short pitch bowling.
Short pitch bowling.
Travis Head.
And remember, 37 years and 95 days.
Exactly.
You would wonder that probably after this Ashes, he's got even more in him. And remember, they're going to India now for 5 tests.
Yeah, he's obviously not.
He's obviously not going to go there, but I think a commentary career awaits Stuart Broad. He's precise with his...
He's a very articulate guy.
Very articulate guy. I don't think, unlike his father, I think his father was a bit more dar.
No,
Chris Broad.
his father was quoting controversies recently as this Ashes. Let's not go there.
Exactly. But 850 plus plus international wickets.
Yeah.
One more innings to go in his storied career, and one may see the ideal setting. Stuart Broad takes the final wicket. England 2-2. The Ashes stays in Australia, but England don't lose to Australia for another...
And as he says, this is the most fun he's had in his test career, which is saying something. And wow, I think you may call after Glenn McGrath going out on the ultimate high. Because... Would have been the ultimate high if they could have somehow won 3-2, but poor weather to be blamed for that.
Poor weather, and tomorrow the weather looks pretty dodgy. So I think maybe on Monday we might see Stuart Broad bowl for one last time, and no way Anderson's playing in India for sure, never. SRT 10 is saying Anderson's retirement can be mostly on how he performs in the 4th innings.
Interesting call, actually. I
had said Anderson could and fall short of that 700 mark.
He's how many wickets?
10 away.
Not happening then.
He can't take the perfect 10 now. Not obviously on this particular wicket.
Not on this particular wicket.
Yeah, Stuart Broad, as he started in 2009, he ends it 14 years later against Australia. Ends with over about 155, 156 wickets. But I'm surprised. I'm really surprised by Stuart Broad's decision that this Ashes test is his last.
In fact, a comment of the day from Akshay Pratap Singh, he's saying that, with English and Aussie cricketers, more often than not, they end up retiring at the right time instead of retiring after a prolonged period of struggle. Just like, for instance, Sir Alistair Cook.
He retired at the Oval.
Exactly. And by the way, Alistair Cook was playing county cricket until very recently.
Essex.
And performing very well, I may add.
Yep. And remember, Alistair Cook ended his career against India with the same situation. At the Oval, he hit a 50 and a century, just like his debut. Say 50 and a century. Right. So, Girdhar Singh is saying Broad is the best bowler in the series. Always like I had said,
exactly.
Apart from Warner, forget Warner, he troubled Khwaja, Smith, Labuschagne, Travis Head. So he basically troubled the entire Aussie top order.
That's the top 5.
That's it. So Stuart Broad, I thought he would have played for 2 more years.
I thought at least 2-3 more years, but
he would have made that trip to the WTC final at Lords if England
made it. But it's it's commendable. Also, he's chosen to go out on an absolute high, retire on his own terms when he's still performing at a high level rather than going out with a whimper. It's always better
with a whimper. Yeah. So that's the thing. Stuart Broad, his impact against Australia, he will forever be that pantomime villain.
And he's also going to be one of the finest, red ball bowlers of this generation.
Ironically, he walks off into the sunset, something Stuart Broad never did in his cricketing. He never walked when he edged. So that's the thing about Stuart Broad. And this is the professionalism, and I think
we took that comment.
The media also respects players' sentiments. They don't look for scoops. They don't look for I'll be the first to break this. I think they respect a player's thing. And that's why when he announced it, that time they decided to run it. So Citizen saying, will he make it 18 with Warner? Ultimate gift is, I think he will.
Could likely.
He will.
Could likely.
He will be in that zone wherein he will just go all out.
Yeah, because he knows last test innings. What do I have
And
to
Broad going full tilt.
is a sight to behold.
No batter would like to enjoy that.
God
at
save
all.
Australia.
Yes. They don't play for personal milestone, Akshay Pratap Singh is saying. In case of Broad, age is still on his side and the way he's bowling, but this is what he feels that his body can operate rather than dragging. I think not more than his body can operate, Akshay Pratap. I think he's making way for someone younger in the form of Josh Tucker.
Also, don't forget, he just recently became a dad.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to focus more on a personal life, whilst his body is still, in a relatively good shape. Because I mean, fast bowling is a tough profession. It really takes a toll on your body.
167 tests, and Anderson probably, if he wants to play more, can go to 200.
Exactly.
But again, getting to 200 will not be easy for Jimmy. But yeah. End of an era for me.
In fact, last comment, and we'll take this one. He says that now he'll be a full-time golfer and part-time commentator.
Oh yeah, I mean, part-time commentator, I think full-time commentator. Yeah.
This was Abhay Pratap Singh.
Akshay
Pratap Singh. Sorry.
Yeah, Girdhar Singh. Warner's the most happy man right now, of course.
Warner's definitely, but he
17 dismissals too late.
And he still has one more to navigate.
Exactly. So that is the situation we have. End of an era. I mean, now it will no longer be the Anderson Broad duo. Oh yeah, that can happen.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, we are waiting for Yuvraj Singh's tweet, by the way, whenever he makes
he pays some sort of a tribute.
Yes, and Santosh Kumar, by any chance his retirement will be withdrawn by decision after some time, like Moeen Ali? No.
With Moeen, the case is very different.
Yeah. Freaking awesome saying, clearly he does not play for personal milestones, otherwise he'll play a few games to surpass. I know. No England player has never played for milestones. If I look at the last two played and was panned was Jeffrey Boycott.
Exactly.
Boycott wanted to go past, so was his milestone. He got it, but then he was really criticized. In a big
and I think
way.
that's one thing that actually scared generations of England cricketers to not be doing that.
Yeah, so this current lot of England players never, and I think even Jimmy isn't playing for a milestone.
Yeah, he's playing because he feels he still has something to offer.
And why not? I mean,
if I could bowl like he could, sure.
Oof, absolutely. He will turn 42 soon, so let's see how it goes. But yeah, end of an era. Stuart Broad retiring after the end of this test. Sad day, but yes. Hats off to a guy who redefined mental strength and calmness. Hats off to him. If not for his wickets, the way how he went about in the field, clinical, mentally tough.
Yeah.
Hats off to Stuart Broad.
And consistent. Quietly consistent.
Quietly consistent, yes. As they said, if Lilly does not get it, Tomo will. In this case, if Anderson does not get it, Broad will. But that one partnership is done now. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this live. We'll be back with more updates from Sports Today. Tap that bell icon so that when we go live, and don't forget, we are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter as well. Bye-bye from me and Shane.